What has President Muhammad Buhari been doing in the last 7 years? You couldn't reduce the cost of governance, which is the reason why this, recurrent cost keeps increasing. So the man stay in office is wasteful, is useless. He didn't achieve anything. The president, from day one, after like a year in office, we realized that he lacks the economic capacity, the political capacity, even the moral capacity to govern Nigeria. And Nigerians made the mistake of allowing him come back to office in 2019. People that surround the president that call themselves, especially the finance minister, these people look like people who studied home economics in the secondary school, masquerading as world economists. Because come to think about it, in the entire 20.5 trillion budget that the president has presented, only 5.3 trillion will go to capital expenditure. To us in the opposition coalition, the 2023 budget presentation exercised by the president and the estimate to us is unrealistic, is high in sand and lacking in substance, and the budget is as empty as the government that prepared it. And to us in the opposition, like I said before, that document that the president presented is nothing but just an official borrowing and consumption plan of the government. This is a government that have been unable to increase revenue generation, that have been unable to block leakages. So it has been a ritual for President Muhammad Buhari in the last 7 years, tabling this document that is empty in substance and with high sand and figures, but at the end of the day cannot catapult Nigeria out of poverty and economic crisis. Actually, the 2023 budget will lay the foundation for the final economic bankruptcy of the Republic. Here you have a 2023 budget that have an estimate of 20.5 trillion. And the president is saying that the revenue that they can raise to fund the budget is 9.7 trillion. And the president is saying that he's going to borrow 8.8 trillion to fund the budget. And where is this money going to come from? He said he's going to embark on new borrowing plans. He is also going to embark on selling off of government assets, because he says he's going to realize about 1-2 trillion for privatization. I don't know the asset the president is going to sell this time. And then the money he's going to get from bilateral and multilateral loans that have matured is in the neighborhood of about 2 or 3 trillion. I can't remember the figure that he will add to be able to realize the about 8.8 trillion to fund the budget of 20.5 trillion. And the only revenue he's projecting that he's going to get, which I'm even still doubting where the president is going to get, is about 9.7 trillion. Now look at something that is very surprising, and it's because I believe that the people that surround the president that call themselves, especially the finance minister, these people look like people who studied home economics in the secondary school, masquerading as world economists. Because come to think about it, in the entire 20.5 trillion budget that the president has presented, only 5.3 trillion will go to capital expenditure. These are expenditure that is supposed to jumpstart the economy, encourage growth in the economy, encourage productions, and so on and so forth. 5.something trillion will go to capital expenditure. So the remaining over 15 trillion is going to be like totally, expenditures that are not going to bring in something. Now you're talking about the president is saying that he's going to spend 6.3 trillion to service debt. These are debt that he kept on, borrowing over time, kept on, accumulating without sustainable projects tied to those borrowing. Because if those borrowing have been productive, then definitely those investments would have been able to help us service this debt. So you're going to present a budget of 20.5 trillion. You take out only 5 trillion for capital project. Then you take out use about 6.something trillion to service the reckless debts and borrowings you have incurred. And then we have a non-debt recurrent expenditure cost that is put at about 8.something trillion. For the first time, over 60% will go to personnel costs of about 4.6 trillion. So when you look at all these figures, and he picked the benchmark for the crude at $70, and he's looking at 1.6 million barrels per day. But we can do more, because we have a country that people are stealing almost over 1 million, 2 million barrels per day. And most of them are people in high places, connected to people in government. Like you saw what Sompolo said, that even some of the security agencies are aware of that. So what I had expected the president to do that, since after 7 years of presenting this budget and this projection, that the president should have been, man enough to have, stopped the leakages we're having in the oil sector, that is caused more by the, crude theft. Now we're losing a lot to crude theft, and that is why at 1.6 million barrels we are still unable to fund our budget. So apart from the oil sector, the non-oil sector that we're supposed to also get revenue is going down, occasioned by the insecurity and the mismanagement of the government. Because if there is security, there will be foreign investment. Well, we didn't have much coming in terms of foreign investment, and then we didn't even have much in terms of local production and an export that would have helped us to have, inflow of foreign currency into the republic. Now, if the president has fixed the security sector, if farmers have gone back to the farms, if small-scale businesses in different localities are also producing, that would have helped us to be able to have something that we are shipping out and getting more revenue as well. But the only way we get this foreign exchange is mainly 80% from the sale of crude. So if the sale of crude goes down in the coming months or thereabout, then the president cannot be able to fund his budget, because he's relying almost 70% or thereabout from revenues that will come from the oil sector. The point is that the president, from day one, after like a year in office, we realize that he lacks the economic capacity, the political capacity, even the moral capacity to govern Nigeria. And Nigerians made the mistake of allowing him come back to office in 2019. And now we also have a parliament that, like you can see, most of them that commented after the budget presentation was talking about giving the president speedy, passage of the appropriation bill. Without saying, let us see the details. There are some items that have been repeated every year. They keep repeating those items. Some agencies keep buying vehicles every year. Some of these things we can remove to reduce the cost we are spending that doesn't go to capital project. So it behoves the lawmakers now to kind of scrutinize the budget and be able to remove those expenditures that are wasteful in nature. But to me, I don't see how the president can lift Nigeria out of poverty. I don't see how he can stabilize the economy. I saw the official rate is fixing the dollar 435 naira to a dollar. The reality is about 700 something naira in the market. So he's saying 435. It's also not realistic. He's looking at inflation at 17% or thereabout. These are his projections to make it look like things are very, moving well. The economy is not on a stable march. Politically, the country is not on a stable march. Security-wise, the country is not on a stable march. All caused by the leadership incompetence of one man and his audacity to care less about the feelings of Nigerians, aided by, political leaders at different levels, both on the parliament and executive and so on and so forth, that have maintained silence and allowed him to run this secondary school kind of economies. Nothing will come out of this. It's like the last leg of the Lutin Jamboree of the economic, what I call secondary school economic agenda. These things will not take Nigeria out of poverty. Neither is this going to jumpstart the economy or provide an enabling environment for small-scale businesses to thrive. Because like I said before, at 20.5 trillion budget, only 5 trillion will go to capital expenditure, 6.something trillion to service your debt, and then you have a non-debt recurrent cost of over 8.8 trillion. Now, what has President Muhammad Buhari been doing in the last 7 years? You couldn't reduce the cost of governance, which is the reason why this, recurrent cost keeps increasing. So the man's stay in office is wasteful, is useless. He didn't achieve anything. He's leaving behind a country that the exchange rate is going out of the window because of bad economic policies, because there's no enabling environment for business, both local and foreign investment, to survive, because of insecurity, because of religious, ethnic, and all sorts of things that the president have done that have messed up the economy. So it's very sad. To me, I don't see any hope coming out of this. Just that Nigerians should start praying and hoping that something keeps holding this country together till we get to the next election, when they will elect a leadership that will be able to reduce the cost of governance and be able to increase revenue generation, block leakages, and apply more to capital expenditure to move the country forward.